Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody, the podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I have a trio of really fun and very special guests on. So we have Bill Beynon and Gerry, who are the co-chairs for the Naples Winter Wine Festival, benefiting the Naples Children's Foundation, along with founding trustee Valerie Gargiulo, who has been involved with the organization for many years. And the Naples Winter Wine Festival is one of the top fundraising events in the United States every year. So it's really a fantastic event, and these three are such pros and will all provide their own viewpoints, but also an extensive wealth of knowledge as to what it takes to put on and chair a successful event. And most importantly, what goes into a successful auction that gets people to open their hearts and their wallets to raise funds for the organization. So with that, Bill, Ashley, Valerie, welcome. And I'm just so excited to have you three on as guests today.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. So, each of you I know has a unique path as to how you got involved with the Naples Winter Wine Festival and, NCF. So, Valerie, I'd love to start with you. And then, after that, I'd love to hear
Sure.
how Ashley and Bill got involved as well.
Okay, great, great. Well, my husband and I, Jeff Gargiulo, my husband and I are both from Florida, from Naples, Florida, and we'd lived there for many years. We're big lovers of wine and dining out, and we had a group of like-minded friends, and we'd get together at each other's houses, and we'd make these amazing meals, we'd drink these great wines. But we knew that in Collier County, where we all reside, which is the county Naples is in, there's no government-funded social services for children. So we all thought, we all have this love of wine and food. We're having all this fun. We know people all over the country who love doing this same thing. Why don't we do something for the kids? Jeff and I, my husband, we owned a vineyard out in Napa Valley. We'd been to the Napa Valley wine auction. So we thought, we need the vehicle to raise the money. What would be a great thing? So let's start a wine auction in Naples. And there was a group of about 8 to 10 couples. And I think part of our magic sauce in beginning this was the fact that we did it as couples. Jeff and I worked together as a couple. Each of the founding trustees, we did it as couples. A lot of us were in YPO, and we took that YPO model that we all worked hard. There was just a lot of passion. And so we decided that was the way to go. We started meeting a year before. We had our first festival about a year and a month later. We were hoping to raise $1 million. We would have been thrilled. We raised $2.5 million. Irrational generosity was all over the tent. And 25 years later, I think the thing we're most proud of is we kept our promise that 100% of everything raised in the tent goes to the kids. And to this day, that has happened. 350, whatever $1 million later, 100% goes to the kids. That's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And Valerie, I have one follow-up question before I talk to Bill and Ashley. What advice would you give? I love the whole thing about couples.
Right.
How does a couple divide and conquer to really maximize the impact? Because you didn't just exceed your goal the first year. I mean, you blew it out of the water.
We did. Well, you know what? We took different things. I probably, Jeff was more involved in getting the vintners and getting the chefs, where I would have been more involved in helping the auction lots and the other couples. Every one of the founding trustees, and to this day, every trustee couple, they work. I mean, they're not there. Bill and Ashley will tell you, and they work hard. But I think there was a passion, and it became part of our homes. It's part of our kitchen table talk. Our kids grew up knowing about the kitchen table talk, and it was about the children and about the wine festival and NCEF. So NCF now. But anyway, it became our passion, our culture, and just, kept bubbling.
Not unlike champagne. So, I mean, that's a cousin. That's a cousin of wine.
How did you know I have a glass of champagne on the side? See it?
I see the bubbles behind you, Valerie.
Yeah.
Always on duty and always testing and trying out for the Naples Wine Fest. So, Bill, I'd love to hear how you initially got involved with this
Yeah,
organization.
I've lived in Naples for 27 years, so I watched the wine festival is from the beginnings. I was young in my business, and I sort of watched it evolve and grow over the years, and was lucky enough to get invited. My wife and I were invited to attend. We did, I think it was like 2014 or 2015, and part of our weekend is it starts off with Meet the Kids Day, which is a morning where we gather all of the beneficiary charities, all the children together in one location, bring all the patrons together, and we have an opportunity to spend the morning into the lunchtime hour, getting to know the organizations, understanding where your money goes, seeing the impact, and getting a chance to meet the children. To us, we weren't there maybe 10 minutes, and we looked at each other and said, we're in forever. I mean, this was just a
Mhm.
phenomenal example of good work, providing wonderful outcomes and results. And what we realized is that a lot of the organizations that we were supporting were also supported by NCF. And our view of it is that NCF to us was the best steward of money that we'd ever seen from a charity perspective, and how they give out the money through the grant process, how they measure the outcomes, and more importantly, how the auction was designed so that no overhead comes out of the auction and all the money went to the kids. So for us, it was a really a quick sort of moment in time. We fell in love with the organization and we jumped in with both feet. We attended every year since then. We became
Mhm.
trustees. We became trustees around COVID time, which was a unique time, and we have just really really enjoyed it. We've been blessed to be able to work as co-trustees or on the auction committee for the last, I think, 5 years in a row. We've had wonderful results, and so not only are you doing great things for children, you're making wonderful lifelong friends. We all have the same passion. We all want to benefit the community and give money to the children and do it in the most efficient way with the best outcomes.
That's
And yeah,
amazing.
you jumped in big time, Bill. You and Nina have
Yeah.
been amazing.
Yeah, it's been fun. We really enjoyed it, and we look forward to it every year. And I think to Valerie's point, we have a daughter who's in high school now, and she's a freshman, and we talk about a lot at the kitchen table, kind of what you were saying, Valerie. We talk about
Yeah.
what we're doing, what's going on, how we're doing it, and our daughter gets very excited to hear about the results every year, which is great because this will hopefully instill in her the importance of giving back to your community.
It
That's
does.
amazing.
Our children now, are adults and they have their own grandchildren. And it just passes it means a lot in your family. It becomes
Hmm.
a real thread of goodness.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that. And Bill, I want to touch upon something you said. You said like after 10 minutes, you knew this was a cause that was
Yeah.
you were going to support forever. Like, was there a light bulb moment? Like, what made you were just like, and
Well,
to do it so quickly? Like,
yeah, we had
how
been
did that happen?
involved. So my wife was a retired elementary school teacher. We had been involved in a number of children's charities, and what was interesting to us is the first Meet the Kids Day that we attended was an organization was held at an organization, one of our beneficiaries called Grace Place. And my wife retired from teaching. She spent a year volunteering there when the facility was sort of a beat up trailer and a former church property where they stuffed the kids in this tutoring program. And to see how far the impact of NCF had provided this organization in growth and what it done, it was just an immediate sort of aha to us, like, look what this impact has done. And as a result, it was just right away we saw what this organization was able to do, and really kind of drove it from there. I mean, it was like I said, it was within minutes of being there.
That's so cool to hear. And what's also really cool, with your wife being a retired teacher, I mean, the tie was there for you to benefit the children. It was,
Yeah.
a part of your family ethos.
Yeah, and a
Hmm.
lot of the organizations that the organization was funding at that time and still today, we saw them there and we were able to interact with them, and many that we didn't know of that were in the community. So it worked really, really well for us.
That's amazing. And Ashley, I'd love to hear how you initially got involved with this organization.
Sure. Yeah, my story's a little similar to Bill and Nina's. Like, I moved to Naples about 18 years ago, and my husband and I started to attend the festival. I think it's been 11 of them. And you just initially go as patrons, and then you see the incredible generosity. And I will second that Meet the Kids Day is one of the most memorable and amazing days. And it does kind of suck you in because you look at the faces that you're actually impacting, and you see what an incredible organization NCF is, and how you can make such a big difference in the community. Because as Bill and both Valerie know, like, you can spend every 5 days a week during season going to a different event and a different fundraiser in Naples. But this kind of encompasses so many of those, and you can make such a big difference. And it is such an well-oiled organization that does such amazing things for each of these beneficiaries. So we were pretty sucked in as well. I mean, we've only been trustees. I'm kind of the baby of the group.
Doing great.
Our
Wonderful.
second, thank you. Our second year really is trustees. And so, but this is our third dinner that we'll host. And so, and we love it. And I just kind of jumped in feet first as well. And they asked for us to be on the committee last year and to co-chair this year. And here we are. And, I won't look back and only look forward. And I'm eager to help many years to come.
That's fantastic. And what I love about your story is that, you got involved, you're newer compared to Valerie and Bill, you're newer to Naples. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, what advice would you give somebody who's new to a community, and how should they just go about getting involved, and why philanthropy is so important?
Yeah, I think it's not even just new to the community. We go through this now trying to recruit new trustees and trying to bring in some of the younger couples in the community that are also charitable. And, if you look at it from the outside, it looks very intimidating. I mean, it is a big event. But like Bill said, you do become a family with everybody, all the trustees. And it's not as big. I mean, it's a commitment, but it's what you can do. Yeah. It's whether you give your time, your treasure, and it's, nobody has to give millions every year, but everybody has something to give and their own value. And I think that people need to just understand where they can fit in and how they can help.
Yeah, I remember the first time we went to a luncheon around the wine festival. I remember my wife was a little nervous, and what we found is that the trustees and the people and the team at NCF, everybody is so welcoming and nice. Dip your toe in. My advice would be to go enjoy the event, get to know people. You'll find that you'll be surrounded by like-minded people that are there not to do anything more than give money to children. And if they walk away at the end of the day with a cool auction item, or they've done, they've purchased something with their friends, a trip or some special wine or a vehicle, something crazy that we auction off, that's wonderful. But the reality is they came to the tent to give money to kids, and that's the common thread I think that you'll find. And we found that just the people are the best part, and getting to know, and we've made such great lifelong friends. It's been wonderful.
And I think, Bill, you bring up the point that giving money to children, because a child is a child of the world, and you help a child, you're helping the world. They're going to be somewhere in the world. But what's so amazing, as being one of the original trustees, all the new amazing trustees that have come along. And Jeff and I grew up in Naples, so it was only natural, that we would want to put our heart and soul and passion into the kids of Collier County. But the fact that so many people who have moved into Naples, they still have homes in other communities around the country, but they commit in such a passionate, big way to the kids of Naples. I mean, they just come in and put their hearts, their treasure, their talent, their souls into this. And that's been incredible.
That's amazing. And, I'd love, as a founding trustee, and I love that, both Bill and Ashley have come along the way at various points, become trustees at various points. I'd love, as a founding trustee, how has the Naples Winter Wine Festival evolved from, the 2.5 million blowout first year to, 35 million a year that you're raising today?
Right. Well, the first thing that I will say is that, and I said earlier that our goal the first year was 2.5 million. We blew it out of the park. But the average lot that year was probably about $30,000 to $40,000. The average lot today is over $500,000. So, but that has taken a lot of work, and that's a lot of credit to our luxury brand partners who come in and putting all the lots together. I mean, we've been putting together experiences as well as the wines.
Mhm.
And I think just if you look at the lots from 20 years ago, from 15 years ago, you'll really see that they've just become these extravagant trips. But it's partly because the vintners have been so generous, the chefs who come each year, and our luxury brand partners. We could not do what we've done without it. But from day one, we used to always go bid high and bid often. That was one of our slogans. And the mantra was, it doesn't matter what you pay for this auction lot. You're doing something for the children. So it doesn't matter what you think the lot is worth. Just keep that paddle up. And then we kind of went from bid high and bid often to bid with irrational generosity. And that's what we've seen over the years, because we still have about the same number of lots, 50 to 55 lots. But and the commitment. There's new trustees. What will we do without all the new trustees who come along and put their hearts in it?
Yeah, and I think the mechanics of putting the auction together has evolved. So, COVID was an interesting experience where we couldn't have a live auction. So we did a virtual auction. And I think everybody kind of sort of, we didn't know. But yet we had a very successful, for what we did, it was extremely successful. And I think that opened the minds to everyone to say, we probably could have had a normal auction that year because everybody was stuck at home with nothing to do. But we learned from that. And we learned coming out before COVID was our 20th anniversary. So when you think about an auction, you can expand it by adding more lots or making the lots more special. So coming out of COVID, we had a very serious conversation that Valerie led, which was, we think it's better to have a more finite number of lots, let's say 50 a year, and to include our fund and need, which we'll talk about momentarily. But let's make 50 of the most special experiences, the most special things you should have, rather than coming in and having 100 lots where it's a 7-hour auction. So we're raising this $34.5 million in a very short period of time, 4 hours. People come well intended to give money to kids, and one of the beauties of this, our largest lot every year is our fund and need, which is our last one. So Lydia, who I know, she handles the fund and need, and what I've always been just amazed at is people come. And again, there are 650 people in the tent. There are only 50 auction lots. So at the end of that afternoon, many, many, many of the people have not successfully won a bid in the auction. So they turn to the fund of need, and they're extremely, extremely generous in the fund of need. So remember, it takes that patron that's coming with the intention to help children. If you get a lot, that's great. They're super special. They're amazing things that you probably couldn't do on your own. But at the end of the day, the fund and need is also, our largest auction lot every year.
But in order to get the numbers we get, to get that over 500,000, you have to have a lot of underbidders. You've got to have people that are willing to raise that paddle. Yeah. So I always have this expression, the magical power of the underbidder, because those people, there are paddles going all over the room, and everybody has their paddle up.
And just remember, don't leave your paddle with your spouse when you go to the restroom.
Well, I have a funny story about that. One of the first auctions we went to, I had told my husband, and at this point we were not ready for the $500,000 packages. It was like our second year going, maybe. And I remember I was like, this is going to go for so much. And I raised my paddle, and it was like going once, going twice, and I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to go to this again.
I'll be
the underbidder sometimes is successful, so you have to understand that. So
no, but without the magical power of the underbidders and that, their willingness to it's fabulous.
Yeah, but Rob, I think to add on what Valerie was saying though too is Jeff always says to us, he said to me many times, is remember, there's not a vineyard in Naples. There are no wine producers in Naples. So we rely so much on the generosity of the people around the world that are the winemakers, the producers, our luxury brand partners. They have just really been a huge part of our success. So we try to our best to support their causes as well. And I think our trustees, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is Ashley was saying there are lots of different events that happen all the time in Naples. It's it's sort of year round during season. When we go to events for either beneficial charities or other things, like think of American Cancer Society, I look around at the people that are giving the money, and it's our trustees. So our trustees have a culture of giving to the community, and I think that's also very important because people see it's not just what we're doing, but we're also supporting the others. We're trying to support, the vintners out in Napa Valley, and as they bring their auction back, and the charities they have, because we couldn't do it without them. We couldn't do it without our luxury brand
No.
partners. We couldn't do it without our patrons' generosity. We couldn't do it without the people that help us put the auction lots together, our fellow trustees. So we keep that at our forefront of our mind all the time because it is so important to make sure that, this continues and it doesn't continue without the help of all these wonderful people.
Yeah. But Bill, you
And
know what's
companies.
interesting? Yeah. I think over the 25 years, we've created kind of a family between our trustees, the vintners who have shared to come over the years, the chefs, because oftentimes they'll stay in our homes or,
Yeah.
they become friends. And there's really just a wonderful camaraderie
Yeah.
between those three legs of the stool, the chef,
Yeah.
vintner, trustees,
hmm
and then our luxury brand partners, as well. It's amazing.
That's really cool. And I love, Valerie, I love how you talked about family. And I want to direct the next question to Ashley. And, because really, the event chairs can only be as successful as strongly as the organization is run. And you have to have a good partnership with the organization. And each of the three of you has brought up how phenomenally well NCF has been run. So what are the keys in your mind, Ashley, of building a strong partnership between the event chairs and the organization you're looking to raise money for?
Sure. Well, I think it all starts with a shared purpose. And like as chairs, we try to bring new energy and bring our networks and be creative with our ideas of what we want to do that's new every the years that you're chairing. But the organization, I think they provide the structure and the history of the event, and they have all the resources in their back pocket that help to make this happen. So I think that's something that we all work cohesively together between the organization, and they are the hardest working team I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They are.
Mhm.
We developed what we call anatomy of an auction. And we have a chart with lines and dot to dot to dot. It looks like Einstein's theory on a wall. And we use that.
Okay, all right. So I think this is a good point to kind of dive into the auction. And, it's been touched upon by each of the three of you about, having a finite number of packages, and we'll get to the fund and need in a moment. But, share with us, and Valerie, I'd like to start with you because, you have, from the very beginning, kind of how the auction packages have evolved. What goes into creating a 5-star auction experience that allows people, like you said, to basically have irrational generosity and, also stoke some competition amongst people because, there's only one that's going to be awarded.
Right. Well, first of all, we want to try to build something that's one of a kind. And generally, like if we have 20 vintners or maybe 25 vintners, so that half of the lots we're going to start, because it is a wine auction, with a vintner. And it's a private experience with a vintner, but we want private experiences, things that people couldn't otherwise do. So after they've experienced that auction lot, they really feel like they've met somebody, they've done something that they would never be able to do before. And also what we do is I think it's almost a science. It's like this big puzzle in the sky when you're building the lots, because we are fortunate to have the ability to source into our luxury brand partners, our vintners and our chefs. So, I mean, you could take, you could take one of our French vintners and you'd have amazing experience in Paris. Then we would add on our Belmont, who's one of our amazing luxury partners, and add an Orient Express trip from Paris to Venice. And then we would have some chef around the world who we would add great chef experiences. And so we're able to pull, from different areas to create packages that really are one of a kind and great experience. And we're blessed with our trustees because all of our trustees have a lot of great resources too, that we're able to to work from. But over the years, we've built amazing relationships. And building those lots, like I said, it's like a puzzle. It's a science and an art, and it's fun. We all have fun doing it. It's like let our
Yeah.
imaginations go.
I also think, Rob, one of the things that we started to really focus on maybe 4 or 5 years ago was for the domestic lots. We really tried to work with our donors, our air share partners to add private air to those, to make it a special experience where they're going to Napa on a private plane. They're having this luxury experience. If we're going to Europe, we're doing first class VIP services. What they are, so it's an experience that they might otherwise purchase themselves. But I remember back to one of my first auctions, sort of the shock to me was that I think Valerie said it, putting together things you otherwise couldn't do yourself. And I'll never forget it. That Humphrey, our auction, one of our auctioneers got up and he said, "Hey, it's going to be dinner for you and 24 of your closest friends. And oh, by the way, this famous chef's going to cook dinner. And David Duncan from Silver Oaks can donate all this wine for the dinner and give you some for your collection. And then, after dinner, we're going to have this famous musician, provide a private concert for you." And I thought to myself, there's not a chance in the world with an unlimited budget and a checkbook that I could put that together.
Was that Darius Rucker?
It was
or
Darius Rucker,
Thomas
yes.
Rhett? That was
It was Darius
Darius
Rucker. And it was so amazing to me that, it was like one of those things, like if you had an unlimited checkbook, you couldn't put that deal together. And it was such an amazing experience. And I remember that year, a woman bought it and it had a family reunion. And she brought her entire family together and had this thing. I thought it was so cool,
Yeah.
And so it's stuff like that. It's stuff that, the generosity of these people coming together, that where they say, "Hey, we'll help you out. We'll come and sing at this dinner, or we'll do this, that, or the other." And then, the experience of the luxury aspect of the luxury brand partners and the the air things that we do, and the private air, all of those little pieces come together. And when they do, it makes for a special deal. And then the competition of the people, that this sort of innate sort of a personality, I want to win something, kicks in, and it's fun to watch.
It is fun to
Really
watch.
really fun to watch. And it starts with the vintner dinner the night before, because the vintner dinner, you're getting to know 30 people, you're having a wonderful experience. The vintner's there, luxury brand partners are there, and the people from your dinner are sitting with you the next day. So you've talked about lots that are interesting, you've talked about things, and bidding consortiums put together. So one of the artful things about this and the science of it is, how do we create enough lots that are 2 couples or 3 couples or 4 couples, and what's the best way with that? Because what happens is Ashley will look at me, at the table behind me like last year, and she'll say, "Hey, let's do this one together." And so, because it's for 3 couples, so you end up driving the price up, because we're coming together as friends to say this would be a really fun trip to take. And you see that happening, and it's just a lot of fun. But it just kind of builds, and we kind of watch it during the auction. We look at the stats live, and they find that about halfway through, I don't know if it's they're drinking more wine or there's scarcity of lots, but the bidding price seems to ramp up about halfway through, which is fun. Really fun to watch.
Bill's point about the consortiums that get put together and the syndicates, we've watched that over the year, and we've developed it. We've learned how to, when people get together Thursday night, the first night with the chef and the vintner party, the consortiums start happening, then meet the kids today. And over the years, they've attended multiple times. They get to know each other. They travel together. It's really interesting, that dynamic. And when we build a lot, we will in our mind know, you know what? I bet this group's going to want to do that. So we need to add this, or this would make that. We'll have an idea who might be purchasing.
Yeah.
Winning.
We also survey our trustees about what they'd like to see in the auction. What are things, the trip here, trip there, and Ashley and Nina and Adam and I have been spending a lot of time trying to figure out, okay, what have we done in years past? What do we need to bring back? What went well 5 years or so? The team at NCF, Lisa specifically, and her team do such a good job for us too of providing history. So we can say, hey, Ashley and I have come to this great idea, and Lisa say, nah, it didn't go so well 2 years ago or 5 years ago. So what if we tweak it this way or that way? So it's a lot of, what has worked, what have we done recently, what haven't we done, who can we add to this, what we can do. And it evolves over several months, and you wake up one day and you've got this big spreadsheet of auction lots, and you get very excited, and then there we are.
Ashley, do you have something
Well,
to
and
say
on
about
that,
it?
yeah, I was just going to say, and on that, like, I even get together Well, I sit down with our auction book that comes in prior to the auction and mark everything that I think that I would like. And then we sit down. Well, we try to sit down with friends. We're going to get better with this every year. And you say, here's what we would like to bid on this. And so you really plan it well in advance. And you say, here's my top 5 or whatever it would be, because chances are you may not get the one you want. But it's really kind of a long, I mean, it's a year-long thing. At least it's a year-long thing for us to plan.
Totally.
And then even to attend, it's a 3-month thing to get ready for it when you think about it.
Ashley worries more about what she's wearing than Adam and I do. Just
Well, she looks great.
I know, but I don't, so I have to worry about it. So,
that's another esoteric or cumulative effect of the wine festival over the years, is because, I mean, the clothing stores in Naples love it because people go in and they're buying all that, and people from out of town. And another thing I don't know if we mentioned that I think is really important is I did mention the fact that so many of our trustees were from other places but come to Collier County and give to the kids in Naples. But of our patrons, our bidders, 50% of the bidders don't even reside in Collier County, or 40% now. They come. It's known around the world, country, and they come in and they support the kids of Collier County. Because in the beginning, that was how it was started, because the group that got together said, look, we're not going to be another that, goes to the same people in Collier County who have been giving and supporting. We need to bring new people in from around the country. And each of us were on different boards where there, or new people who were wealthy, love to have fun. And so we all made a list of 10 to invite. And that's how the invitation list started in the beginning. So,
Valerie, the story was shared with us when we became new trustees that you ought to use an old term. You got your Rolodexes together and you got together to a dial party and started calling friends and saying,
we did some of that. We did not exactly that way, but and we invited them to stay in our homes with the vintners and the chefs. So anyway,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just sorry, Rob. I was just going to say, and every year I hear some of the new people that go to the chefs and the vintners that haven't been to Meet the Kids Day before. And every year they say, I can't wait to take this home and tell everybody about it. I can't wait to tell everybody what an experience. You guys have really created something remarkable.
Well, and I was going to ask you all about that. What advice would you give? Because there's lots of communities that like at the Aspens of the world, the Martha's Vineyards of the world, the Nantuckets of the world, the Naples of the world, that have a lot of residents with second homes who live there part-time. I'd love to hear what advice you would give to people in those communities to get a very substantial portion of your donor, of the donor base to be from outside the area, and understand that even if they're not here all year, it's still your community.
Yeah, and I think there's two sides to that, because I think some of the people do have a connection, but I think Valerie's point, a lot of our patrons do not live in Naples at all. They come because they've been invited by friends that are attending. So it's about sharing your experience and the great time that you have and the cause with people that that like the same sort of things. Do you like food? Do you like wine? You like having a great time? Hey, come to Naples this weekend. Stay with my house. It's a great charity auction. You may, great. We give money to children in our county. I can't tell you how many friends I have from out of town that come in just for the auction, because it's a wonderful experience, a wonderful weekend. And whether it goes to kids in Collier County or kids in Martha's Vineyard, they just want to give the money and benefit someone in need.
But you know what, Bill? If you think that's one of the reasons we named it the Naples Winter Wine Festival, and we had it in the winter when we chose the day. Because, we wanted people from all over. Come down to Florida in the winter and have fun. Enjoy Naples, Florida in the winter. And one of the guiding principles, and I know this is a fun and funding podcast, was all the things, raise the money for the children, 100% goes to the kids, sustainability, track results, measure results, but have fun doing it. And I think the trustees have done really well at having fun.
We start every trustee meeting, not board meeting, but trustee meeting, where everybody brings a special bottle of wine and we share it with each other.
Yeah.
So we do work really hard. We have a great time, and I think what I leave with a lot is, it just, as I said before, the best part of the people. It's the collective generosity, the collective efforts that everybody puts
Mm-hmm.
together. Everybody has a different personality, has a different perspective, a different history in what they've done in their careers, where they came from. But we all come together and kind of coalesce around a single thing, which is it's all for the kids.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and along with that bottle of wine we all bring every meeting as well, we have a mission moment,
Yep.
which is one of our children that
First thing
we've
we do. Yeah.
tracked and helped over the years. And I will tell you, just an auction 2 years ago, we had an attendee. He'd only attended one other time. He came for the second time. When we were at the vintner, the Grand Cru, the chef and vintner party, he asked me, he says, I want to see the faces of the people you've helped. I've seen, all this, the numbers and all that, how you've helped. I want to see faces. So we put together this book of probably 50 kids that we've helped, took it over to him the next day. A day of auction, he sat there and he raised his paddle for $1 million fund a need, because it was about the kids, the faces, the places, what had
Yeah.
happened, the success, the measuring.
Well,
So,
and I'm glad you brought up the fund to need. And, I know that you all, because the auction is 4 hours long, Lydia is amazing.
Yeah.
But anyone, even someone as bionic as Lydia, doing that for 4 straight hours would probably, that'd be enough for anybody. So you all have two different, you all have two different auctioneers. So I'd love for each of you, Bill, we can start with you. Talk about how you utilize the two auctioneers during the event so that they're engaged throughout.
Yeah. So I think it starts before the auction. So Lydia and Humphrey are very involved with us. Once we get the auction lots done, the chairs and the team, we sit down with them. We first work very strongly on the lot order. Where do we put everything in the order of the auction? So that's sort of the first piece. The second is that, when they come into town a couple days before the auction, we spend a whole day going through every auction lot, talking about what we think are the highs and the lows from a bid perspective, who are prospective people in the audience that might like this sort of thing that they know, identifying prospective bidders. And they work really, really hard at knowing the audience. They know the cause extremely well, and they know the lots inside and out. They divide those lots. Humphrey starts. I think they do, like, I don't know what the number is. Let's hypothetically just
5 or 6, and then
yeah, I
5 or
was gonna
6.
say seven or so, and then they rotate. So what happens, I think, in our auction, we don't lose energy. So it's a change of pace. Humphrey and Lydia are very different, but both spectacular auctioneers. But because there's this quick change of pace, we're not losing momentum. And we're not having a time where the four same auctioneers at hour 4 and they're getting tired. So they're able to have full energy in these sort of segments of the auction, culminating with the last lot. Lydia always comes back up at the end and does the fun and need. So Humphrey has just finished the lots. Lydia comes up with fresh energy and she gets the fun and she's phenomenal at the fun and need. Humphrey jokes that he's no good at it, so that they really balance each other extremely well. They're different personalities, they're different styles, but I think they balance each other extremely well. But the biggest thing for me is we don't lose energy. Um, if we had 80 lots, we need to have 3 auctioneers.
We
You know,
create energy. We
yeah,
create it. It's a buzz. People
yeah,
are standing up, cheering, running over, congratulating. We have music going all the time. It's a
yeah,
buzz.
yeah. No one, once you get in the tent, you don't leave until it's over. There is no,
Mm-mm.
it's straight through. So you really get a momentum going, and as I said, about halfway through, it really gets going, and it's a lot of fun, and everybody's getting excited along the way.
So I want
And
to
then what?
ask, well, I wanted to ask about that. Talk about how you keep people engaged for 4 hours, because that really is, I've never heard of anything like it. It's just so cool that you're able to do it. So, Ashley, I know you had something you wanted to chime in with, but chime in with that, and then any thoughts you may have on that piece.
Oh, no, I think that what they were saying about the auctioneers, like Humphrey is hilarious, and they both get to really know all of the trustees and past
Good
bidders,
point.
And so, and they really engage with the audience, and they'll call people out. And but as far as like, well, wine and champagne really help to keep everybody's energy up. So that's something
Little food here and
that,
there.
Yeah.
yeah, little
About
food.
every 12 lot, a little food.
Yeah. And Valerie's right. Like everybody's up and high-fiving everybody and giving each other hugs and congratulating people on what they win. And it really, when it's over, you're like, that was it. Like it really, like, it doesn't feel like 4 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one of the traditions, I don't know who started it, but I remember one of our trustees, Ann Bain, she's like the Energizer Bunny. And
I did.
so the trustees and the lot committee and the chairs, every time someone wins a bid, we are going to their table in the tent to congratulate them. They're on camera, it's an exciting moment. So people are feeling that energy, and I think it just leads on and builds into the rest of it. I think the wine's important. So the trustees that host the dinner the night before host the tables. We provide the wine. There's food that's provided. So we kind of keep everybody engaged with some candy if you need some sugar. We've got all the accoutrements that you may need. Um, but
But you know what? Yeah.
it
Bill,
doesn't
yeah.
feel like 4 hours for sure.
Bill, that's what set us apart year one, is
Yeah.
because that's what we did. Year one, when somebody would win a bid, there was a group of us, we would run over to that table and high five
Yeah.
them and hug them. And it was so different than any other fundraiser that had happened in Naples, in Collier. And the music would play. And Jeff, my husband, who was the first chair, he was up on the stage, but then he would run down and tell the guy on the whatever, the DJ or whatever, to play this song, play that song. But it
Yeah.
was I think we created a sense of energy at this auction
Yeah.
that you don't find other places.
Yeah, and it's also the other thing I think that's not lost on me is that it's not just a congratulations, it's also a thank you.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
we
Good
appreciate they're giving money to kids. So it's also a big thank you. And I think people see it, they see it get excited, groups of people getting together, and then we give them all a winning bidder medal. So those that have won are wearing them, they're around, and people get excited about it. They wanna be in that group.
And they come to the auction with all 12 or 15 medals, like
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
while we're on that subject, I have a question here, and because each of you have different tenures and different durations, I know you may have different answers, and we'll start with Ashley on this one, and that is talk about your favorite auction moment that you have ever experienced at a Winter Wine Festival.
Uh, well, honestly, I think at the actual auction was probably, we had a pretty good bidding war with one of the lots. And, normally it's my husband that's like, okay, enough. And we kept looking back, and it was just the excitement and the momentum when we won. It was this trip to St. Bart's and this home. And it really was like a super exciting moment. And I mean, maybe at the moment it was like the highest auction lot aside from a car that they had. And so we
Yeah.
were in the moment, and it really was a lot of fun. And I think that was probably, aside from Meet the Kids Day events, like that was probably my most memorable, I would say.
Fantastic. Bill, what about you?
I kind of have two. I think the first was early on. I think it was like our second or third year. We had committed to friends to bid on a specific lot. And my friend and I got up to walk to the restroom, and we came back, and everybody's around our table cheering. And my wife and my friend's wife were sort of standing up on the chairs. And I looked at Nina and I said, "What did you do?" And she said, "I think we're going to Croatia." So we ended up buying two lots that year. So it was just a spontaneous moment that ended up we ended up going on that trip with people we didn't know very well and made lifelong friends, and we got to do the other lot as well. So it was kind of a really nice thing. The other one was, I think, fun and need when Valerie's point was when someone you don't expect raises the paddle for $1 million, just out of the blue, spontaneously, says, "I'm in." That to me is, pure generosity. And that's happened a few times. I mean, but the one Valerie was I was sharing the auction the year. The one Valerie was talking about when the gentleman raised for $1 million. It was a shock and a wonderful surprise.
That's amazing. Valerie, what about you?
Okay, well, so I'm going to go back to probably I've got two like Bill, but I'll go back to year 5, or maybe it was 6. But one of the pillars of the community, Raymond Lutker, and his son Scott Lutker is one of our founding trustees. So they're under the tent. And in those days, a lot still weren't going for the numbers they're going for now. They had creeped up from that first year of about 40,000 average, but whatever. So we have a Bentley, and Raymond Lutker and another gentleman got in a bidding war for the Bentley, and the Bentley went over $1 million. We had never had a lot go over $1 million at that point. It was just like unbelievable. And I'll never forget that moment. And then the next moment, I think the year after COVID, when we all decided that we were going to dare to be great, we were going to come back big and bold. We were not going to let anything stop us. Of course, we were in Florida. That helped. And we went back and we planned the auction as a group. And Bill and Nina were part of it. There was a group of about maybe 6 or 8 trustees. And we went back, and in 2020, we had raised a record $20 million. So we thought, how are we ever going to come back for COVID? And we went and broke another record, raised, I think, and I'll never forget the night our accountants and everybody afterwards were doing the numbers, and they came and told me it's 23.5 million or 24 million. I mean, it just showed that dare to be great, that, the work of all the trustees that were so committed and all our partners to come back after COVID that big. And not be afraid to hit it head on, be bold. And we were, for the kids.
That's amazing. It is all about being bold. And, I love that you all you started, you blew out the number, but you've also steadily grown over the years to this number. It wasn't
we've broken the record every year since, Valerie.
Exactly. And it's been steady growth. So it's not this kind of, because a lot of organizations, they'll raise way more one year and then they can't ever do it again. And it's just a testament to you all and your leadership, how it's a staircase, and you've been able to keep the staircase going in an upward trajectory for a quarter century.
Yeah, and even our discussion always is, we don't necessarily set a monetary goal. We want to do as best as we can. If we can beat the record, great. But, we just want to raise as much money as we possibly can for the kids. We've done this through COVID. We've done this through hurricanes, financial crisis, and it's survived through all of those things, and wildfires in Napa and all the different things that have happened. And yet, it's worked. So there will be obstacles, there'll be challenges in years, and there'll be years where we don't raise as much as we did the year before, but we'll strive to do our best and raise as much as we can and continue to fund. We do reserve money in our foundation, so that if there is some catastrophe, we can't have an auction. We have enough to fund. We have enough to fund for 2 years. So we want to make sure that we're being good stewards of the money. So that, because at the end of the day, Valerie's point when she first started was, there is no government allocation to children's initiatives in Collier County, Florida. Without us, there are none. So we want to make sure that not only are we doing this but sustainable. We're working on now growing our giving outside of the auction to people that aren't maybe wine people, growing sort of the direct gifts to the foundation, and sort of that's the future too. So the wine auction will always be here. It'll always be our signature event. It'll always be the most important fundraising thing that we do. But as I look forward, the next 5 or 10 years, my goal, along with everybody else in our trustee group, is let's find ways to grow giving outside of the auction so that we can continue to grow the organization. Because, at some point, we're not going to have a $4 million average auction lot. So we need to make sure that we're growing in other ways.
That's really great. And I love that you're kind of planning for the future with that. And I know we're coming up on time, but I always like to end with this question because it's just kind of a fun one and everyone always gives fun answers. We'll start with Ashley, and then Bill can go, and then Valerie can go. And that is, what is one thing all successful events have in common?
Well, I think that you can plan every detail, you can do but I think you want people to walk out of the room after feeling your mission, after hearing everything that you're doing for the community, and then walk out and just be like, wow, I'll never forget this experience in my life. You want it to be unforgettable in many ways. Your touching experience, what you can have, but it's also from the heart. Like what you feel from the heart when you leave our event. We want you to take that with you and want to come back the next year.
Very well said. Bill, what about you?
I would frame it similarly, but I would say a very, very clear understanding of the why. Why are we here? We're here to raise money for kids. If I stopped right there, you know exactly what we're doing. And it can be broad, it can be narrow, but at the end of the day, we're coming to raise money for children. It's that simple. All the other stuff is fluff. We're there to give money to kids. And I think if we can be that direct and that simple with people, that they will understand it, they'll be able to put their arms around it and then understand all the outcomes and all those other things come around. But we got to start with that sort of very clear why. Why are we here? What's the purpose of this? And I think if you do that in an organization and you're clear and you're committed to that, it's easy to be successful.
Knowing your why is essential. Great, great
Mm-hmm.
answer. And Valerie, you get the last word.
Well, I think it's when people walk in that room, they sense the passion and they sense the cause and the mission. I think that's what they sense it. They know immediately. And our whole weekend is a crescendo to that point. And
Yeah.
once again, I just want to end on saying I think our unique, our golden key to continue to be as successful as we have been is because of the trusty couples who work together with their time, their talent, their passion, their treasure, and we do it together. And I think that couple has been, as I said before, our secret sauce, because there's a lot of because we work so well together. Because we work as couples, I think it makes a huge difference.
All tides lift all
Yeah.
boats, and couples, it's twice the power. And I think
Yeah.
that's incredible. And you all gave such, feelings important, missions important, why's important. All three of those are critical. And you each gave such different, succinct answers. And what a perfect way to end just a
Yeah.
fantastic and fascinating segment. So, Bill, Valerie, Ashley, thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank
I just
you.
can't thank you enough. This was a wonderful conversation.
Nice to meet
Yes.
you.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you,
you
Rob.
as well.
All right.
And
Have a great day.
I will. And the Naples Winter Wine Festival, benefiting the Naples Children Foundation, will be held from January 30th through February 1st, 2026 in Naples, Florida. For more information, please visit napleswinefestival.com. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.